Whether you think you can or think you can't, you're probably right. What we accomplish is all based on what we believe that we can do. If we believe we can do it, we can. And if we believe we can't do it, most likely we're not successful. Welcome to Life of a CISO. I'm Dr. Eric Cole, your host, and we'll be taking you on a journey each week on what it takes to be a CISO and what are solutions that you can implement today if you are currently a Chief Information Security Officer or if you want to be one in the future. This is Life of a CISO. Welcome to this week's edition of Life of a CISO with yours truly, Dr. E is in the house. I'm going to start with a quote that actually really drives home the key point of this episode, which is, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're probably right. What we accomplish is all based on what we believe that we can do. If we believe we can do it, we can, and if we believe we can't do it, most likely we're not successful. So it's really that inner belief that drives everything. Now, I'm not saying that it's just that simple, that just because you believe, right, it magically happens. There's work and other effort you have to put behind it, but the reality is, I can guarantee you this. If you don't believe, if you truly don't believe that something is possible, if you truly don't believe you're capable of doing something, your probability of success is almost zero. Guaranteed out of the gate. Now, if you do believe that something is possible, and you do believe that it can happen, I'm not saying that's a guarantee, but you're probably in the upper 80 to 90 to 100% percentages that is going to happen. So my question is, which one do you want to bet on? Do you want to bet on 0 or 90? Right? So the point is, if you're not believing you can do something, if you don't believe you're capable of it, move on to something else you believe in. Because once again, probability of success is almost zero. And the reason I'm bringing this up is, it's a piece that is the most critical, but it's a piece that everybody misses when we talk about becoming a CISO. I see all these debates and arguments, and when I promote my class of I can train you and teach you how to become a world-class CISO, I always get everyone going, Eric, you can't teach somebody to be a CISO. The only way to be a CISO is to work in cybersecurity for 10 or 12 years and then move into a CISO position. And it seems everybody is focused on, it's all about technical. Number one, number two, number three question I get all the time is, how do I become a CISO if I have no experience? Or how many years of experience do I need to become a CISO? Or, hey, I've only worked in cybersecurity 3 years. Do I have any chance of becoming a CISO? And the reality is yes. To become a world-class CISO, you have to be a world-class strategist. You have to be able to design and build strategy that enables a business to be successful. CISO has 4 letters, but there's really 2 groupings. There's the outer and there's the inner. So if we start on the outer, chief officer. A chief officer is somebody who is responsible for the growth and success of the business. It doesn't matter what your middle letters are. If your title begins with a C and ends with an O, and you are a chief officer, you're going to be viewed by the board. Most likely, your main compensation is going to be bonus, and it's going to be bonused off the growth and success of the company. And if you're a publicly traded company, meeting and exceeding the financial targets that you set with your shareholders. That's what it comes down to. You look at most chief officers, their base salary isn't that much. There's some chief officers for really big companies that make a couple $100K a year, but their bonuses are 3 to 5 mil. That's where chief officers excel. So you have to recognize that if you're going to be a CISO, you have to embrace the outer layers. You have to recognize that you are focused on the business. You are focused on the growth of the business and the success of the business. Then, inner letters, information security. The way you do that is by using cybersecurity as your strategic weapon. You're going to go in and say, okay, how can I take cybersecurity and create and build and position in a way that enables the business to grow and be successful? That's how world-class CISOs think. World-class CISOs are constantly looking at, designing, and deploying strategies around that simple question. How can I utilize and implement cybersecurity measures and practices within the organization that will help it grow and expand to increase its revenue and increase its profitability? That's your driving question. If you don't like that driving question, if that driving question doesn't excite you, if it doesn't drive you, then you probably shouldn't be a CISO. Because there's a problem that has happened in cybersecurity. And the problem is this. The problem is technical people believe that the ultimate advancement on a technical cybersecurity career track is to become a CISO. That is flawed, that is false, that is misleading, and that is why we have so many problems with CISOs today. The more you are a security engineer, the longer you've been a security engineer, the less likely it is that you're going to be a successful CISO. Most, not all, there's a few exceptions. Most world-class security engineers make awful chief information security officers because they have two different career tracks. A CISO is not an advancement for a security engineer. A CISO is not the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow for world-class technical people. It's not. It's a different position. A chief scientist, a senior cybersecurity engineer, is the pot of gold at the end of the technical rainbow, but definitely and absolutely not a CISO. And that's where so many people get into trouble and so many companies get into trouble because they don't understand that. So let me break it down. As we said, hopefully if you've been listening, a chief information security officer is not a technical position. You're a chief officer. You're a business professional at the most strategic level possible, focusing on growth of the company. That is not technical. That is not technical in any way, shape, or form. So the more technical you are, the more you enjoy technology, the more you love being in the weeds with technology, the less effective a chief information security officer you're going to be. So you just have to recognize there are two different career paths. That's why, in my experience, the best CISOs on the planet, the ones that are world-class CISOs, maybe have 3 to 5 years as a security engineer. Most likely, they were security analysts, so they weren't super technical. They understand or they oversaw security folks, so they came in as sort of a SOC manager or overseeing the security engineers, and they understand cybersecurity enough to be able to lead and direct security engineers. They understand and know cybersecurity enough so they can build out effective strategies. But the strategy, the business, the growth ultimately drives them more than hands-on keyboard, technical designing, doing pen testing, building out firewall rule sets. So it's what do you really love to do? And you need to recognize that if you love something, don't force yourself into a different field. There is nothing special about being a CISO. Being a security engineer, being a chief scientist, just as powerful. They're just as well respected and in some cases make just as much money. So I want to be careful as we talk about becoming a CISO. The first most important part is, are you doing it for the right reasons? Do you really want to be a CISO? Because I can show you how. I mean, it's easy. You just follow what other successful people have done. You mimic the process and you can become a CISO. But the reality is this. Are you going to be good? And are you going to be happy? Because what's the point of doing something that you don't enjoy doing? And what's the point of doing something that you're not very good at? And I see this all the time when I'm coaching CISOs, and I hear this guy, Eric, I know you want me to put together all these metrics and strategies, and you want me to present to the board, and you want me to go to all those, but I don't like that. I hate sitting in board meetings. I hate with these executives where all we're talking about is growth and expansion and revenue. He goes, give me a break. Put me in front of a keyboard. That's what I love to do. And I'm like, dude, you should go in and immediately resign. You should go in to your boss or your boss's boss or the CEO of the company and you just say, listen, I thought I wanted to be a CISO. The reality is I don't. My talent and my skill isn't being a security engineer. It's being a chief scientist. I appreciate the opportunity, but I think we both know this isn't really working. But I like the company. I would like to continue to work here. So I was wondering if I will stay on until I find a suitable replacement of somebody that wants to be a chief officer. And then can I switch back to a chief scientist position in the organization focusing on the technical blueprint for cyber? That's what you need to do. Because too many people stay in a job they do not like, they do not love, and they do not enjoy. And to be frank, they're not very good at it. And everybody knows it. But so many companies today need and require CISOs for requirements, regulation, or if you're a publicly traded company, that sometimes the executives just like, you know something? We know that so-and-so is not really a CISO, but guess what? They have the title, they do their thing, they sit in another office, they don't really bother us, and they meet the requirements. So sometimes the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know, so let's just keep it. But they're not really treating you as a CISO. You know you're not really the CISO, and you, because you love the title, you keep it even though you know you're not really good at it, or you fool yourself to think that you're really good because it's a technical position. When everyone else around you really knows, okay, this person is a security engineer, not a CISO. So first and foremost, when we talk about becoming a CISO, make sure it's what you love to do. Make sure it's what you enjoy to do, and make sure it's what you're really good at. And you can learn anything. So I wouldn't worry about that second piece. The next step is where I started. You have to believe that you're CISO material. I will tell you, people have called me a magician. People have said I am a life changer. People have like, Eric, you are like a magic genie, because I can't tell you how many people that have been trying to become a CISO for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And they keep thinking it's because they don't have enough technical knowledge. So they keep taking more technical courses and reading more technical books, and they sign up for my CISO cert because they think I'm going to give them more technical knowledge. They think I'm going to show them what it takes to be a CISO. And the reality is this: I'll give you what you want. I'll always give you what you want. One of the reasons why people love me as a trainer, teacher, coach is because I always give you what you want so you leave satisfied, but I also sneak in what you need so you feel fulfilled. So that's the difference. If you want to know, I'll go on a quick tangent. You want to know the difference between good and great trainers and world class? Most trainers will show up and they'll teach you, they'll give you the technical knowledge, they'll give you what you want, and you leave. And you feel satisfied. But the world-class ones recognize what you really need is to remove the roadblocks, to remove what is really causing you not to be successful, and then you walk away not only with what you want, but completely and totally fulfilled. And that's what I do, because here's the reality. I'll just give you a simple reality. If you've been trying to become a CISO for more than a year, and you haven't been successful, there is one reason and one reason alone. It's because you don't believe. You do not believe you are CISO material, and your belief system and self-talk is impacting you in a way that you are showing up and basically guaranteeing that you're not going to get the job. You're essentially self-sabotaging yourself, because the reality is this. There's a huge need for CISOs. And if you have experience and a pretty good resume, there is absolutely no reason you shouldn't be getting offers left and right. So it's not that you don't have enough technical experience. It's not that your CV isn't good enough. It's because you don't believe you're a CISO. And I'll tell you, I take every one of them, and I know the problem even before we start, because if you've been trying to get a job for 2 or 3 years and you haven't, it's a simple reason. And not 5, 20, 50% of the time, every single time when I sit down with these people, within the first 10 minutes of conversation, it will come out. They don't even realize they said it. But just in normal conversation, Eric, listen, I'm so glad that you took me on as a coaching client, because I'll be honest with you. I've been trying to become a CISO for 3.5 years, and this is really my last hope. I'm just starting to believe I'm not CISO material. Maybe I should just stick to being a security engineer. Maybe I should just stop doing this, but I'll give it one more try. But to be honest with you, I'm not really sure if anyone is going to hire me as a CISO. And what I always do now, with their permission, I always record the conversation, because they don't even realize what they're saying. Because I would get into these arguments where first time coaching client, 10 minutes, and I'm like, okay, do you realize you just told me that you're not CISO material, you don't believe you're a CISO, you don't think anyone's going to hire you? And you said that 9 times, and it was 8 out of the 10 minutes. And they're like, no, I didn't, Eric. I'm like, so you don't believe you said you're not? No, I didn't say it. Because they don't even realize it. It's just built into the patterns. So now I tape record them. And then I play it back, and I'm like, listen. And that, like, their face is like, oh my God, I really said, that's me. Like, they are actually shocked and surprised with the words that come out of their mouth. So it's not this overt, aware self-sabotage. It's not like they are walking around thinking they're doing it. They have no idea. So the reason I'm saying that is because there might be many of you that are doing this, and you are telling me, Eric, I don't do it, because you're not even aware. So just ask people around you what you say, or tape record yourself when you're speaking, because once again, it's the craziest thing. People will say things and they don't even realize they're saying it. It doesn't even register or process with them. So second most important step is believe. 100% full conviction. And easiest way of doing that is just deciding what a CISO is and proving that you are one. This is one of my favorite exercises. You might have heard it, but it's worth repeating, where I had a client that was like, Eric, I'm not CISO material. No one's going to hire me. And once again, they didn't believe it. I played it back to them, and they were shocked. So he says, okay, we're going to fix this. This is going to be real easy. So I took out a piece of paper, and I said, tell me, what is CISO material? And they looked at me, they go, what do you mean? I'm like, you told me. You told me with 100% certainty. I can play it back if you want, because we got it recorded. We got evidence. But the words that came out of your mouth, I am not CISO material. And you said it with a conviction of certainty. So if you are so convinced that you are not CISO material, I would like you to tell me what CISO material is. And so this weird question with like, yeah, okay. And I'm like, just, come on, just start rattling off. And it's slow in the beginning, but eventually we usually get a list of about 30 items. And then I go, okay, yellow highlighter. Let's go through each one of these for you. Do you have this? Do you have, and we start highlighting it. And then about half, I go, wait. But before we finish this exercise, I'm just curious. Does somebody need all 30 of these? Like if they have 20 or 30, like what's the number they need to exceed to be CISO material? And they're like 20 out of 30. If they have at least 20 out of 30, we're good. So I finish. And 9 times out of 10, they have 23, 24. So I'm like, okay, you told me this is a list of CISO material. You told me you need at least 20 and you have 23. So please tell me how you're not CISO material. And then we use that as a way to switch their limiting belief to an empowering truth. Now, Eric, well, what happens if I don't have 20? It's awesome. So let's say I did this with a client. They had 18 out of 20. I said, awesome. You're so close. So let me ask you a question. You have 18 out of 20 and you need 20, so you need 2. Look at the remaining 12 items and which 2 do you think are the easiest or simplest for you to learn? Which 2 do you think you can learn over the next 2 months? We highlight them. I say, great. The next 2 months, this is all you focus on, and guess what happens in 2 months? You're now CISO material. So it's that shift that's so critical. Then the next step, take your current CV that you have and burn it. Burn it. Don't even try to rework it. Here's why. It was written by somebody who doesn't believe in you. That CV was written by a person who had the audacity to think that you aren't CISO material. So how good a job do you think they're doing in convincing people that you are? Terrible. So that resume is a great example of why people shouldn't hire you. So why the heck would we use it? Why would we even use any portion of it? Burn it and churn it, start over. Start from scratch from the mindset of you are CISO material. And then write it off of those 30 key points. You just said what CISO material is. This is what companies are looking for. And highlight all the yellow items that you have. And here's the trick. Focus on the skills that show your CISO material, not the length of time you did it. How do most people write a CV? They're going to go in and they're going to list what they spent 90% of their day doing. And most of you, if you've never been a CISO before, you spent 90% of your day being a security engineer. So your CV is going to be security engineer. But let me ask you a question. In your 10-year career, did you ever brief executives? Well, once, great, put it down. But Eric, I only did it once, right? You're not lying. You're not putting on your CV, you did it 100 times. You said brief executives on cybersecurity strategies. You did it. So what you're really doing here is you're focusing on the 10% of strategy that you did, and you're basically ignoring and burying the 90% of the technical work that you did. Then, once you have that CV locked and loaded, you then start applying for the jobs, and here's the trick. When you go on every interview as a CISO, you should have 3 to 5 lines memorized that you're going to fit in there. One of them is the revenue and profitability of the company. So you should have a phrase. I looked at your public filings, if it's a publicly traded company or even private. I looked at your company's filings and I've noticed that last year you did 800 million and this year you're expected to break the $1 billion mark in terms of overall revenue, and you have an average of 22% margins. That sentence you must fit in. You must fit it in. Next one, you must fit in how you looked at the company and they have amazing products and the growth is amazing. I mean, you have a 33% year over year growth factor for the organization. But I think if we actually tweak and implement security in certain ways, we can actually get that number up to 38%. And then the third thing is, what I enjoy and love doing is being part of an executive team. And while most people think of cybersecurity as a technical piece, I actually believe it as a strategy for growing and expanding companies. Now, if you want to put a couple more in there, but I'll tell you right now, if you're interviewing for a CISO position and you fit in those three phrases multiple times, your probability of success just goes through the roof. Almost a guarantee. So summarizing, you have to believe you can do it. You have to believe that you're CISO material. You then have to want to be a CISO. You have to want to give up the technical oars and jump into the strategy. You then have to rewrite your CV, and then you have to have business-focused phrases that you utilize throughout your interview. And if you do that, my friends, it's not a matter of if, but when you will become a world-class CISO.